I'm Chris Shattuck, and this is Template Files, Theme Function Overrides, and Pre-Processing Functions. In this video, we're going to go over template files and theme functions, completely understand them, and learn how to customize them, and we'll look at how to use pre-processing functions to separate logic from presentation. One of the first steps when deciding to build a theme function or template file override is to take a look at what options are available to you before you get to that point. The reason for this is that the more template files that are in your theme structure, or the more theme function overrides that are in your template.php file, the more maintenance there's going to be for your theme, and the harder it may be to find the specific themable output that's being overridden. Probably the most versatile tool we have in our theming tool belt is CSS. We can do a lot with CSS simply by leveraging the existing structures in the HTML page and repositioning elements using CSS. You can even hide elements with CSS, though sometimes that complicates things. One example of using CSS in a place where you could also use a template file or theme function is in structuring the layout of forms. For example, sometimes you'll want to put the label of an input to the left of the input instead of above it, like it's structured in Drupal by default. One way to do this is by creating a theme function for the form and outputting the various elements, the labels and the inputs, in separate spaces, and then using that, for example, in a table style layout in order to get the effect you're looking for. But with CSS, you can do it simply by floating the labels to the left and creating a space between it and the output. And by having this in CSS, it simplifies the structure that you have to maintain over time. Another thing to explore is whether you can hide or reorder the fields on a node or an entity simply by using the settings on the field settings page. You can do a lot here. You can change the output of some of the fields. You can hide labels or position labels in a different way. So understanding exactly what you can do through those settings pages can go a long way towards saving you the effort that you'd have to put out in overriding a template file. You can also use several contributed modules in order to expose additional settings that you can use to get the theming changes that you want. For example, you can use a module called Display Suite, which will allow you to create more complex structures inside of various entities, like nodes, for example. You can create a 3-column layout for a node and position fields in those different columns. And this sort of thing would be a lot more difficult to do if you were doing it from scratch with template files and theming functions. So knowing what kind of contributed modules are available to you can help a lot. We'll cover some of these as we look at some of the quick ways that we can modify output using contributed modules. Finally, have you explored all of the configuration options that are available to you in Drupal core and the contributed modules that you're using? If not, it may pay off to go through the settings pages of all of the various modules that you have installed and enabled and see what's available. Just click around, explore what the different settings do, and you may find that you're able to do a lot of the things that you would normally have to move over to a theming type solution for. If ultimately none of these help you solve the problem, then using a template file or a theme function is perfectly alright. It's just that if you can find a simpler way, it'll pay off in the long run.